Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of the Maricopa County Board of Adjustment for Thursday, March 13th, 2025. Rachel, would you please do the roll call?
I'll do the
Rachel,
roll call.
through Rosalie.
Chairman Loper,
Present, I think.
Vice Chairperson, Member Carden,
Present.
Member Clapp. Here. Member Ward. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Go to the announcements. Announcement number one, this meeting has been noticed in accordance with the open meeting law of ARS 38-431. Item B, agendas are available within 24 hours of each meeting in the Maricopa County Planning and Development Office and are also available on the Planning and Development website 1 week prior to the hearing at www.maricopa.gov/planning. With respect to the hearing process, cases will be considered in the order they appear on the agenda unless otherwise agreed to by the board. For each case, the applicant will be given a set amount of time to present their testimony. Any witness wishing to give testimony on a particular case shall notify the board of such interest. This shall be done by filling out a speaker request card for if you're here in attendance, much like this one. It's available at the podium back there, and then hand it to one of the staff persons. But if you're here to speak, need you to fill this out. Or if online, you register a desire to comment on as noted on the published agenda. Also, at the appropriate time for each case, the chair will ask those attending in person and online who wish to speak to a case to raise their hand by clicking on that icon on the webinar screen. Staff will provide the chair with the names of persons who have registered and noted a desire to comment, and those registered participants who have raised their hand. The chair will call on each named participant one at a time. Such testimony shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. However, the actual amount of time allowed for testimony shall be at the discretion of the board chair. The chair will conduct the hybrid in-person and virtual public hearing according to the bylaws and according to the rules established by the chairman regarding public comment. Votes will be done by roll call vote only, and the chair will verbally identify the specific members responsible for all motions and seconds. Move on to the approval of the minutes for February 13th, 2025. Are there any comments on those? Seeing none, those are considered approved. We'll move on to continuances. Darren?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, board members, we actually have 3 items for continuance. And I'm going to read some typos, corrections into the record. First item, BA 25-0005, known as the Hewitt property in District 2, a variance to a setback on a 2.5 acre property on Montgomery Road in Rio Verde. That is continued to April 17th. The second case is BA 25-006. This should be referred to as the 44026 North Black Canyon Highway property. Applicant's Bill Allison, and it's in District 2. It's a variance to billboard height on a 3.5 acre property on Black Canyon Highway in Anthem. This is going to be continued to April 17th. And then finally, TU 25-002. This is item 9 to be moved up to the continuance agenda. The Stapley property, it's a temporary use permit for temporary housing in District 2. That is also continued to the April hearing.
All right, thank you very much. There's no action required on our part for a continuance. Move on to code compliance review, item number 3 on our agenda, V 2023-02237 in District 4.
Mr. Chairman, board members, before we entertain a presentation from Mr. Hart, we don't believe the respondent, the appellant, is here. And we're having trouble contacting them. They provided the request for appeal as a handout at the front counter and did not leave phone number or email. So our contact with them historically has been via mail or on-site postings. If they're not present today, if Miss Deborah Carter or her rep is not present today, we would ask this also be continued to April, and we will do a site visit to hand
Get it
them
to them.
the
Yeah, I think that's always, I think it's in our bylaws for regular variances, and we've done that as a courtesy. So is there anyone here for the code compliance review in the Whitman area? Specifically Carter? I don't see anybody in attendance. Do we have anyone online?
There's no indication online.
Do we take action on this to continue it then?
I would.
Just better safe than sorry. All right, I'm looking for a motion to continue this to the April 17th Board of Adjustment hearing. Member Cardin,
I move that we continue V202302237 to the, you said to the next hearing. I didn't catch the date, but to the next month's hearing.
that's good. We have a motion by Member Cardin. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Member Clapp. Rosalie?
Member Cardin,
Yes.
Member Clapp? Yes. Chairman Loper?
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion to continue the case to April 17th by a vote of 3-0.
So you get your chance next month, Chip. We're looking forward to it. All right, move on to the regular agenda. Item number 4 on the agenda is BA 2024-011 at 12230 East Wood in District 1. Mr. Lauritsen.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. BA 2024-011 is a request for varying the required front yard setback for an approximate 1 acre residential parcel located in the rural 43 zoning district in the Chandler area. The request is to amend the required front setback from 40 feet to 25 feet to allow for the development of a new 10,837 square foot residence. The parcel is rectangular in shape with 168 foot depth. A 15-foot easement exists along Wood Drive. The home is designed to be 40 feet from the property line or 25 feet from the end of the easement. Granting of the variance would essentially remove the requirement of taking setback after the roadway easement. The applicant has failed to demonstrate there is a peculiar condition related to the property to warrant the variance request. Should the board find the applicant has proven entitlement to the variance, then the board must state on the record the basis of the determination with the findings and conclusion in a motion to grant the relief sought. At this time, I would be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Andrew. I do have one question. Could we go back to the aerial? So we do have homes on either side, actually up and down that street. Do we know if there were variance requests? And I understand that just because there was or was not doesn't necessarily prejudice this, but I'm just curious that same condition would have applied.
Yes, Chairman, there has been no other variance requests on the street.
Okay, so permits were issued presumably. All right, thank you. Member Cardin.
Just as a point of clarification that I think goes to your question, Chairman, is this variance request would put the residents in line with other homes along Wood Lane. So even though other homes, and I'm just asking to see if this is true, even other homes didn't need a variance at the time, I assume because either the road easement wasn't, I don't know why. There are other homes built within the same line as this home is being proposed to be built. Is that accurate?
Yes, 3 of the 4 homes along the street are built at approximately the 15-foot depth. I'm sorry, the 25-foot depth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions of staff at this time? All right, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant, Mr. Stockton, Jim Stockton, or representative?
Chairman, I have Jim online. He hasn't seen my chat messages. Apparently he needs to unmute on his side and then he can speak. There you go.
Go ahead, Mr. Stockton. If you could just give your name for the record, then go ahead with your presentation.
I have Mr. Stockton unmuted, and it shows his mic is open, but we can't hear him. So he might have also muted. He might have a double mute on. I don't know.
Possibly the source. It needs to select a different source for it. While we're awaiting Mr. Stockton, is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this item? I don't see anybody in attendance. Do we have anyone else online? No? All right. Member Cardin.
Chairman Loper, thank you. I'm inclined to approve this request, so we may be able to save Mr. Stockton some time and trouble if you feel like it'd be okay if I made a motion.
I absolutely do. I'll close the public hearing. Member Cardin, if you would go ahead.
I move that we approve BA 2024011.
We have a motion for approval by Member Cardin. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Member Clapp. Rosalie?
Member Cardin,
Yes.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 3-0.
Congratulations, Mr. Stockton. Move on to the next item. Item number 5 on the agenda, BA 250001, the Prieto property in District 4. Nick?
Thank you, Chairman Loper, members of the board. Case BA 250001 is a request to establish a lot area of 43,552 square feet and a lot width of 132 feet for the Prieto property, where 43,560 square feet and 145 feet respectively are the minimums required in the rural 43 zoning district. Next slide, please. So the subject parcel was created following a series of unregulated land divisions. The original parent parcel, 504.12.004, measured about 40 acres, with each side measuring about a quarter mile. In the 1990s, this parcel was split into 5 child parcels, including 504.12.004A. Several subsequent lot splits in the following years have resulted in what are now as many as 26 child parcels of the original parent, 5 of which were split from 504.12.004A in 2023. The subject parcel is the southernmost of these 5, as you can see in the picture at right. Each of these 5 parcels is slightly substandard in area, measuring just under an acre, but most significantly, each parcel now measures a width of about 132 feet, 13 feet shy of what rural 43 zoning requires. Consequently, these parcels are non-conforming to the rural 43 width and area requirements. The ideal remedy would be to combine them and, if desired, resplit it into a maximum of 4 parcels. Complicating this remedy, however, is that the middle of the 5 parcels has since been sold to a new owner. The remaining 4, including the subject site, are still under common ownership. Combining the northernmost 2 and the southernmost 2 would negate the need for variance on the land subject to this request, but 1 parcel would remain non-conforming. Besides obtaining variances, the only alternative would be for the new owner of the middle parcel to purchase additional land to obtain a total width of at least 145 feet. Subsequent lot split combinations could result in 2, 3, or 4 parcels within the survey area, all conforming to rural 43 requirements. Staff notes that if the requested variances are granted for the subject parcel, the 4 parcels to the north will remain non-conforming. If those parcels are to remain as currently recorded, it will be incumbent upon their respective owners to request variances for each. That said, staff is unable to identify a peculiar condition facing the property, nor is staff able to identify an undue hardship created by the enforcement of the zoning ordinance. The substandard area and width were created in the direct line of title because of poor lot splitting practice with unregulated land divisions, and as such, the substandard lots were avoidable. Therefore, the granting of the requested variance would fail to preserve the general intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance. If the board, however, finds that the applicant has satisfied the statutory test and has stated its findings on the record, the grant of this variance will memorialize the following. Item A, variance approval establishes a 43,552 square foot lot area for APN 504.12.237. And item B, variance approval establishes a 132-foot lot width for APN 504.12.237. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Nick. A good overview. Are there any questions of staff at this time? Member Cardin.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Nick, just curious, and it probably doesn't really make a difference here, but are the other parcels that were split from the original 40-acre parcel that have gone down to this similar size, are they also deficient in minimum lot area and minimum width?
Member Cardin, from what I'm aware, I don't believe so. As I was sort of overviewing, the original 40-acre parcel had been originally split 5 ways, and those other child parcels were continuously split several times. One of those child parcels, 004A, wasn't split until 2023, and those are the 5 parcels that you can see at right, all of which are now non-conforming. I'm not sure about the other 21 parcels. Many of them have been developed, and I didn't see records for variances on those other parcels, so I don't believe most of the 26 child parcels are non-conforming, but at least these 5, including the parcel subject to this request, are non-conforming. So this variance request, of course, is just for one parcel, but there are 4 parcels immediately to the north that also have the same problem.
Yeah, thank
And they're
you.
largely undeveloped, yes.
And
Thank you. Any other questions of staff?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just to make sure that Member Cardin heard the last response from Nick, these 5 that are subject of the same last unregulated land division are all non-conforming and they're undeveloped at this time.
No permits on them.
Thank you.
And to follow up something Nick said, the middle of the 5, separate ownership. But the subject property is currently owned by the same one as the north and then the northern 2. But is that the same as the applicant, or is the applicant the intended purchaser of the bottom parcel?
Chairman Loper, it is correct that the current owner of the subject parcel also is the applicant for this case, and also the owner of the parcel immediately to the north and the northernmost 2 parcels. The middle of the 5 parcels that was recently split is now under separate ownership. I will note that that middle parcel does have what looks to be a manufactured home. I could not find a building permit for it. That was there since before the lot split, but it has since been sold to a new owner. And the lot is now non-conforming with regard to lot area and width.
But you mentioned you could create 4 conforming lots, but not 5.
Chairman Loper, that is correct, because when you split the property, when the property was split into 5 ways evenly, it wasn't a perfect 5 acres, it was close to it, but each of the 5 parcels, which are equal in width, 132.03 feet, something like that, each of the parcels is slightly under 1 acre as a result. But if it were to be combined again, and then split into even 4 ways, you would result in parcels that are about 1.25 acres and about 165 feet wide. So in that way, each of the 4 would meet the area and width requirements. But splitting it 5 ways creates that issue with the lot width
Right.
and the lot area.
And we can't speak for that middle parcel.
Correct.
But you're saying just with the 4 that are left, if they reorient it, it could potentially work
Or combined, yes.
or combine. Okay. All right. Anything else of staff at this time? Go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant or applicant representative in attendance? I don't see anybody and I don't have a speaker request card. Do we have anyone online?
Chairman, I have a Sonia Prieto online,
Okay.
but I don't see that she's connected with audio. I sent the audio pin to her connection, but it doesn't. I can't unmute her because the audio is not connected.
Okay.
So I don't know how to link her in to potentially speak on this.
Can you see her, David? Can you see her now? You could see her. So can she nod? Like, can
All
she
right.
hear us?
I'm sorry, I thought you meant, can I see her name? She is listed as an attendee. However, I can't see like her face.
Her camera's not on?
No, sir, no.
Okay, go ahead, Darren.
Mr. Chairman, we can give her a phone number to call in and we'll put her on speaker. If she is listening, please call 602-723-2241.
By the way, please don't text things to that number. While we're waiting to see if that occurs, this is the point of the show where I miss having Wayne here so I could give him crap about how I wish the county had minor land division. He could point out there's not the statutory authority. Max, I don't know if you have that same opinion, but I'll point out that a couple of counties, whether they have the authority or not, do. Yavapai and Pinal being 2 of those, probably others. So I don't know if there's a stomach from the board of supervisors on down. Go ahead, Darren.
Mr. Chairman, for clarification, we have authority to adopt a minor land division ordinance What we don't have authority to do is to deny on these lot splits that fail to meet zoning district requirements. We can only put notice on the recordation.
Got to record what comes in front of the recorder. Okay. All right. We'll give this another. Yeah, Darren, yeah, that's a good idea. Could you repeat that phone number?
Oh, she's calling right now.
Okay, good.
Hello, Maricopa County Board of Adjustment. Hello? Hello? Hello, this is the Maricopa County Board of Adjustment. Are you here for the hearing?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have you on speaker. That hurt. Proceed, ma'am.
I know. I don't know what happened. I'm here. I see you guys, and I'm hearing you guys, but I can't. I don't know. I can't connect the mic.
Okay, well, we can hear you now.
Okay.
If you could give your name for the record and then explain to us about your variance request.
Yes.
Yes, if you could state your name for the record and then just present your case for your variance. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Sonia Prieto, and the case number BA 250001.
And tell us about the variance request. Why are you requesting this? Go ahead, Darren, sorry.
I'm gonna do. Okay. The beginning we did a split in 5, and the surveyor he put 1 acre lot on he did a little map, and he said, okay, there's 1 acre lots, there's 5 of them. And then we said, okay, so we went and we did, so we can get a legal description, or no, we went to, so we can put the lots under our name. And then after that, we got that done. And then we sold the middle one where the manufactured home is at. And then, okay, we sold that. And then we're like, okay, we want to build a home. So we went to Maricopa County Planning and Zoning, and they said, you can't build on none of them. They're all short of 43,560. So by then we can't do anything because the middle one's already sold. And they said the only thing you can do is request a variance, and that's what we did. Or else we would have fixed it right away and not sold the other property. We would have took care of it right before. But after that, after the property sold, we couldn't do it anymore. And I called the survey guy, and he didn't know what to tell me.
Okay. Are there any questions of the applicant or Ms. Prieto, do you have anything else to add?
No, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this? We didn't have anybody identified earlier. We may have more questions for you, Ms. Prieto, so hold tight.
Okay. Yes.
This is in District 4. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Oh, Member Cardin, did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, I guess I didn't really have a question. I more than anything, and I think Ms. Prieto can still hear us. I guess just off the cuff, Chairman, I did a quick little look here, and it appears that all of the other parcels that at least I can see in this original 40 do meet the minimum requirements, are at least 145 feet wide. And I didn't check all their gross square footage, but it appears they all are correct, because even in the similar areas, there's only 4 lots rather than the 5 like they've created. And I guess I just want to emphasize it could be difficult for me to approve this one, because it really does seem to it seems that they still have other alternatives in the sense of original owner and being able to combine at least the 2 parcels. It's too bad because they'll end up with only 3 parcels. But that middle owner, they don't have a variance. And if they ever do want to develop, they can understand that they'll have a difficult time without a variance. And if a variance is denied here, maybe that middle owner would be encouraged to work with them to ultimately end up with 4 lots, which is 1 less than 5, but all ultimately developable. I guess I just wanted to share that thought based on what I'm looking at here on the map.
Thank you, Member Cardin. Nick or Darren, did you pull up the record of survey? So does it have the dimensions?
Chairman Loper, I don't have a copy with me. I believe it's in the staff report, but the record of survey was submitted as sort of the de facto site plan. It does show, I think it might say 1 acre on each of those parcels, but if you look at the specific square footage, each of them are just under 43,560 square feet by a matter of ranging from 8 to 14 square feet short. This southernmost parcel, the one subject to this request, is the closest of the 5 to 1 acre. It's 8 square feet short at 43,552. So that's why it was lot area was one of the requests. The other, of course, the biggest, the obvious issue is the lot width, which is 13 feet below the minimum required.
Were the others on that record of survey, were they also, are they 145? Because sometimes the assessor doesn't show exactly what the.
Yes, I believe it was all in the record of survey. From what I remember, the record of survey does show the specific lot width of 132.03 feet. So the record of survey was very specific with the dimensions and the square footage, as well as the legal descriptions for each of those 5 parcels.
Mr. Chairman, board members, it's in paragraph 8 on page 2. You might need to hold your nose and squint, but it's
there.
And Chairman Loper, I believe it's also in the attachments too. It might be a bigger appearance than what's in the staff report.
And that's okay. So I have a couple of different thoughts on this. One is, Ms. Prieto, you own all 4 of those other parcels, correct?
Yes, I own all 4 of them.
Okay. Is there a difference in fee if she applies for a variance for all 4?
no.
No. So this is me, but it may make sense because these are all 4 recorded parcels to do this for all 4. That's one thought. Number 2, I don't want to take away your livelihood, but there may be a reconfiguration possible, coupled with easements where you could potentially have 4 lots. I don't know. I'm not a surveyor, but that brings me up to my other point is you may want to, if you can't get the surveyor to respond to you and there are inaccuracies on the recorded survey that they did, you can go to the Board of Technical Registration, which handles the licensing for surveyors, and lodge a complaint. And I don't say that lightly, but if they're saying they're 1 acre, but they're clearly in the square footage not an acre, that presents a problem. The surveyor wasn't under an obligation to make sure that you met zoning, but an acre's an acre, 43,560, not 43,552 or less. So, but I guess in a way I feel your pain, and I hate to see lots unutilized. So I'm actually inclined to approve this, but I think I'm more inclined to have this continued to another hearing, whether it's the next one or the next one after that, to give you an opportunity to, 1, see if you could have any luck with the surveyor to get him to fix his error or get some recourse there. I don't know what that could be. And then number 2, to work with staff to see if there are any solutions to this that wouldn't involve you having to include that middle property or to lose the number of lots. I can't speak that there would or wouldn't be, but I'd like to give you that opportunity because it sounds like right now you, with the three of us, you would have probably a vote opposed, potentially one in favor, and I can't speak for the third person, but that's a pretty big gamble. And there may be solutions here that could cut down the need for possibly one of the variances. Would you be open for that?
So what, I would have to have the property surveyed again, like do a split, but where would I get those a little bit of more that I need, or 5,000 that I need for each lot?
Go ahead,
Where am
Darren.
I gonna get that from?
1 second, Ms. Pareto. So, Mr. Chairman, along the same lines of what you were discussing, the survey that's shown, that's screen captured, has very specific dimensions that are out to the 100th decimal point, as well as the square footage shows out, the exact square footage, like 43,514. But underneath each of those square footages, which are very specific, it says 1.00 acre. It's a very unfortunate label on each lot to say 1 acre. It doesn't say approx 1 acre, and it is also out to the 100th decimal point at
Right.
00. I do think there is some survey problems there.
Right.
I don't think there's any way, based on the specific acreage of each of these lots, the specific square footage, that they can carve out 5. It would be 4. I'm sure they could work with that middle property owner to create 4 lots that are each over 145 feet width and 43,560 square feet, but they will not get 5 lots.
Right. Okay. So it sounds like a variance is going to be needed at least for the lot width. So back to Ms. Prieto, if I were you, I would explore what kind of recourse you have with the surveyor on the misrepresentation on your record of survey, the inaccuracies of that. Those are not acre lots. They are less than an acre. So it sounds like a variance would be needed probably if you want to have 4 lots under your ownership. They're going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of what they are today, and the lot width. Darren, and this is off the cuff, or Nick, if they were to reorient them so the lot line was north-south, what's that east-west direction? I typically don't print the staff reports.
329. Looks like, again, I got to squint, but it looks like 329.
So if they, yep, there you go. So if they reoriented it so the property line was north-south, they'd still be under an acre likely, but they would have the frontage, because I'm not a math whiz, but 329, 145 into 329 goes well more than 2.
If they could, you're talking about leaving the middle lot alone and taking the 4 they still own and orienting those north-south. You'd have to add some easements.
Right, they'd have to do additional easements.
It would be somewhat, it may have an odd I'm not going to say encumbered building envelope, but a square squat building envelope, but you could fit the other 4 lots, the newly created 4 lots on the south end and north end would be under area, but would meet width.
I would also like to add, however, that if the lots were to be reoriented in that way, it's possible that new easements, by recording new easements that reach the parcels separated from 351st Avenue, those new easements, depending on how they're recorded, could also reorient what's considered the front, and so the lot width could become non-conforming again.
No, that's a good point, Nick. Thank you. Okay, this is what happens when you try to design stuff from the podium, which I've been told you shouldn't do. Okay, so the potential solution really would be to almost start from ground zero. And unfortunately, the middle property is sold. So with that said, I don't know. It's unfortunate what's happened, and I would encourage the applicant to talk to the surveyor or the technical board of registration. That absolutely will get their attention. And I don't say that lightly, because I work with a lot of surveyors, and they generally do the best that they can. But with that said, did I close a public hearing? Closing public hearing, if I didn't already, and turn it back to the board. This is in District 4. And since there's just 3 of us, I'm going to throw a motion out there for consideration. And that motion, given the incorrect record of surveyor, which is not necessarily the applicant's fault, but is also really not a hardship. But nonetheless, I'm going to recommend approval of the variances as requested. And I'm looking for a second on that. Member Cardin.
Chairman, may I make a second, but also with a comment?
Absolutely.
I guess I'm looking at this. So I have been a participant in this sort of activity in other counties, and have to work very hard to make sure we meet the minimum requirements. And so I look at this and say, if we approve this one, we're in essence approving 5, because at that point they're probably going to be all completed. And I feel like we're in a position right now, or the applicant's in a position where, even having sold the middle lot, if this one is denied, that middle lot's going to realize there's a high likelihood they won't be able to develop. And so they would probably come to the table and be willing to work through whatever the issues are to make this all conforming. So I guess I'm saying a second, but I guess I'm doubling down on my position, just trying to give you more idea of what I'm thinking. So thank you for letting me talk.
No, absolutely. It's some great points, Member Cardin. That was a second. So I'm going to call for the question. Rosalie, we'll see where. So if a motion in affirmative, or that vote doesn't happen, do we do another motion, or is it considered a denied variance?
A failed motion is essentially a de facto denied variance, but you can make another motion.
Okay. Okay. All right, Rosalie, if you wouldn't mind.
Member Cardin,
No.
Member Clapp,
No.
Chairman Loper.
Yes. So that motion
The motion.
failed. So I'm going to offer up another motion. And that motion is, because I want to give the applicant another chance to see what they can come up with, including a possible lot combination. Because I don't see how you don't go from 4 to 2 because of that middle lot. But again, they may come to the table, as Member Cardin mentioned. So for the applicant, I'm going to recommend that this item be continued. And then my question to the applicant is, I'm thinking a minimum of 60 days for you to try to see, 1, if you can get anywhere with your surveyor, 2, if you can work with that property owner in the middle to, they're going to need to acquire some land from you to meet the minimum width and lot area.
Mr. Chairman, sorry to
Go
interrupt.
ahead.
I want to make sure she can still hear you because other calls are trying to come
Yes.
through. Okay, sorry.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
I'm hearing you.
So would 60 days be sufficient? I guess if not, we could continue again. So my motion is that we continue this to the May meeting. I don't know that date off the top of my head. We continue it for approximately 60 days, 2 months,
May 15th.
to the May 15th hearing to allow the applicant to work with the property owner of that middle property and the surveyor on possible solutions to potentially negate the need for the variances. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a
Can I
second by
come?
member Clapp. She beat you just barely, Craig. Rosalie?
Member Cardin,
Yes.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, that's a motion for continuance by a vote of 3-0.
Best of luck to you. Move on to the next item on the agenda, VA 250003, the Garst property. That's Joe.
Right, well, they closed the hearing for both, so.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. The subject property is located at the south of the southwest corner of McClellan Road and 104th Street in the Mesa area. The subject site is within the R135 zoning district and is a corner lot with the northern lot line, which is adjacent to an unnamed access easement, being the front since it is the shortest lot line adjacent to a street. Subsequently, the eastern lot line adjacent to 104th Street constitutes a street side lot line. The applicant is seeking a reduction in the required street side setback, a type of front yard setback to the eastern lot line from 20 feet to 5 feet to allow the construction of an accessory structure of which there is an active building permit. The subject site is of regular rectangular shape and meets minimum zoning district requirements for lot area and lot width. Staff notes the site is relatively flat and void of any geographical features not typical in the area. The applicant had recorded a 1-foot vehicular non-access easement along 104th Street to negate the street side setback requirement. However, current staff interpretation of the ordinance is that a VNAE only prohibits access from a lot onto a street, but does not alter required setbacks. Said easement crosses an existing driveway onto 104th Street. City of Mesa staff provided comment on the case, requesting that a minimum of a 10-foot setback from 104th Street be retained to mirror the city's requirements. The site does currently contain a large sports court south of the residence and pool. However, with the absence of these items, the property would have ample room to relocate the proposed structure. Staff notes granting the variance request would not only apply to the requested accessory structure, but also potential future structures and additions to the primary residence. Staff cannot identify a peculiar condition facing the property that, when presented with the ordinance standard, creates an undue physical hardship, not self-created in line of title, and that will not prevent reasonable development of the property. If the board finds the applicant has satisfied the statutory test and has stated its findings on the record, the granting of this variance will memorialize the following. A variance approval establishes a 5-foot east setback line for APN 2205007B. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Joe. Great overview. Are there any questions of staff at this time? Member Cardin.
Just to clarify, so I'm understanding 104th Street is considered the front. If I'm wondering if I'm understanding that, but if 104th Street, if the east side of the lot along 104th Street really was a side lot, what would the minimum setback be? Would it be 5 feet or less?
Chairman Loper, Member Cardin, the eastern lot line adjacent to 104th Street is a street side setback. The front of the lot is actually the northern lot line because the easement counts as a street. As such, the street side setback is 20 feet to the east. If the eastern lot line was an interior lot line, not adjacent to a road or a street, then an accessory structure would, per the ordinance, be allowed to locate up to 3 feet to that lot line. I do want to note that 104th Street is currently McDOT right of way. It's not a private easement.
Thank you.
Joe, is a follow-up to that, it's just a local street. It's not a collector or designated for any.
Chairman Loper, that to my knowledge, that is correct.
Thank you. Any other questions of Joe or Darren or anyone else at this time? All right, seeing none, I'll open the public hearing. I have a speaker request card from Matt Rubel. Come up, provide your name for the record, and says that you're the applicant representative and that you're in support. Go ahead with your presentation.
Good morning. My name is Matt Rubel. I work for Southwest Building Solutions. We are the company who has applied for the permit for this metal accessory structure. There's, I guess, a couple things here. The utility of having the 5-foot setback for this building rather than a 20-foot setback clearly doesn't meet the hardship requirements that we're talking about here. Obviously, the sport court and the pool, the septic system, and not listed on there is also there's a buried propane tank in that has to be removed for the building to be placed in there. But the functionality of the building, the way that we have presented it on a proposed site plan, I'm not sure if that's anywhere that you guys have it. I have it on my phone here, is such that the client's use of this as an RV facility would be way harder to pull off if we couldn't get the building where it is, in terms of just overall costs and movement of the structure. The second part of this is I build, last year I did 165 accessory structures in the state, most of them being in Maricopa County, most of them on our R135s or RU43s. In several, and I can probably get into the specifics, but there's a lot of times I've had clients record these non-vehicular access easements, specifically, not so much street signs, but a lot of times on properties that end up being pull-through properties that retain a 40-foot rear setback instead of the 3-foot setback for accessory structures, and relinquish the ability to access those properties. And in every single time that I've ever seen it happen, there's never been a movement to a variance. So I don't quite understand how those NVAEs typically just get projects approved or permits approved, and then why this one happened to go to a variance structure. The client does access the property from the north, coming into that driveway and then driving directly south to their driveway. They are highly, Dr. Garst is highly aware that he would give up any access to 140th from the area that we're talking about. The other thing I believe there also is an 8-foot PUE on the southern boundary of the property in order to access well and electricity as well, which also limits our ability to put the building down there. So that's why we have it there. So I guess that's my comments for this.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for any of the board members for the applicant? Member Clapp.
You're saying this building could not go anywhere else on the property from where it is today, where you've planned it today?
No, 100%. I could put it where the sport court is, if the sport court wasn't there. And that's primarily why we're here. That's why I said I'm highly aware of why it doesn't meet the unique hardship requirements because of the existence of that sport court. I guess the more, and I could probably adjust the building where it's going to be, but in terms of physical access with the RV, which is the entire point of the building, would be much more difficult with the building being set 20 foot back and turned specifically north and south instead of on a bias the way that we have it in the site plan. I guess the bigger question is, when clients have recorded NVAEs in the past and they've worked, they've eliminated those street side or pull through requirements. I just don't understand why this one hasn't.
Also, this is an RV garage, correct?
Correct.
Okay. My experience with RV garages is they run 800 to 1,000 square feet, and this one is 1,500.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be made smaller?
It certainly could have. Yeah, that's going into this, we realized that there is more than likely the possibility that an adjustment to the building has been made. So fortunately, the client's investment right now is only in terms of their hard cost is only drawings at this point. We didn't order a building, so it absolutely could be done.
Because the way I see it, if you made this building, it's currently 30 by 50. If you made it 20 by 50, you could still keep the same alignment to, access the garage as you've planned today, but you can move that building over another 5 feet from where you've planned it today. So it would be at 10 feet rather than 5. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. 100% right. I'm just being the advocate for the client who wants a 30 by 50 building. I'm assuming there's going to be more than just an RV in the garage.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And just a second, Member Cardin, 10 feet is what Mesa was requesting, correct? So, okay. Member Cardin.
Well, just on that point, my understanding is, and maybe I understand it wrong, at 30 by 50, it's already 5 feet away. So if it just went to 25 by 50, I think it would be 10 feet away. I guess that's a question.
I mean, that's correct. Yes, we could absolutely do that. At this point in time, the building, I mean, it could be 23 and a half by something. We haven't ordered a building yet. They're completely custom. So that is 100% possible.
All right. Thank you. Darren, did you have a comment?
A couple quick comments, if I may, Mr. Chair. The R135 street side setback is 20 feet. So there would still be a variance required with that modification. And just, for the record, the ordinance specifically allows a vehicular non-access easement to be employed on through lots to have one of the lots considered a rear yard rather than a opposing frontages. Historically, there has been a practice for these vehicular non-access easements along different streets. And there has been mixed practices over historically. Our current stance and ordinance interpretation is that other than in that through lot scenario, which is specifically memorialized in the ordinance, there is no allowance for the non-vehicular access easement, which is specifically to control access onto a street, to change what is considered a street side. It doesn't change the setbacks. So if a vehicular non-access easement was placed on 140th Street, it would cross an existing driveway, which is a permitted driveway. But all that would do is prohibit use of that driveway and access directly onto 140th Street. It wouldn't change the fact that there's a 20-foot street side setback there.
Thank you for that clarification, because I'm thinking nearly every subdivision plat I've seen throughout the state where a side and even a rear yard backs to a street has a VNAE because they don't want access, just people cutting driveways indiscriminately to that. Okay, so it sounds like there's some flexibility in the size of this. We don't have any other speakers in attendance on this, do we? Do we have anyone online?
Nobody online.
Nobody online? I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Turn this over for discussion and possible motion. This is in District 2.
Uh, Based on the discussion about the size of the accessory building, I would like to make a motion that we approve a 10-foot street side setback for this property, not 5 foot.
We have a motion for approval, but at 10 feet from Member Clapp. Is there a second? We have a second from Member Cardin. Rosalie, when you get a chance.
Member Cardin,
Yes.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for approval by a vote of 3-0.
Thank you. Go ahead, Darren.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, I just had a brief discussion with council. The application was for 5 feet. And we believe that you need concurrence from the applicant for the change to 10 feet.
Okay, if you could please give us your name again and tell us if you support that or not.
Yeah, my name is Matt Rubel. I'm with Southwest Building Solutions, and yes, we approve the change.
To 10 for a 10-foot side yard under BA 250003.
Correct, for a 5 to 10 foot setback change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good catch. Awesome. All right, move on to the next item on the agenda, item number 7, BA 250008, the Christensen residence in District 2. Paula?
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. Agenda item number 7, case BA 250008, is for the Christensen residence in Supervisor District 2. The applicant is requesting a variance in the Rural 43 zoning district for parcel 22014-011U. The property is approximately an acre and is rectangular shape. The variance request is for a proposed 26-foot front yard setback for the western property line, where 40 is the minimum permitted in the Rural 43 zoning district. The variance is in order to construct a 422 square foot covered patio. The property is currently developed with a 2,590 square foot single family residence, which was constructed in 1996 per the earliest Maricopa County historical aerial. The residence is in compliance to most of the Rural 43 development standards, except for the front yard setback, as the residence is set back only 36 feet, encroaching 4 feet into the required front yard. Staff is comfortable memorializing the existing 36-foot front yard setback for the residence, as it was in existence prior to January 1st, 2000, and would be legal non-conforming. The proposed covered patio would cause the lot's primary building to encroach an additional 10 feet into the required front yard with a setback of 26 feet. The applicant recognizes there is no peculiar condition facing the property, but would like to develop the front yard covered patio in order to enjoy the front yard portion of the residence. The applicant has failed to demonstrate that the strict application of the Maricopa County Zoning Ordinance to the property has caused undue to physical hardship that prevents reasonable development of the property. The accessory structure can be developed in other ways to meet the 40-foot front yard setback without a need of a variance. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Great presentation. Are there any questions of staff at this time? All right, seeing none, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant Teresa Carlson? Would you like to come up and provide your name for the record and then just give us an overview of your request?
Teresa Carlson. And as you will notice, that property faces directly west. So our main concern is the sun beating on that side of the house all the time. So that's what the reason for the patio was, to kind of put some cover on that, on the front part of the house, and hoping to help our utility bill because during the summertime. So it's a rural area, so it's not going to affect anything in that neighborhood. And then the property towards the north of us also has an extended patio over his front door that extends 10 feet. So we kind of fit right in with all that. So we're thinking that's why we would be able to do that with him having one also.
All right, is that the end of your,
That's the
Comment
end.
this
That's
one?
just our main concern is just trying to get the sun off of the building.
definitely understood. Are there any questions of the applicant by any of the board members? All right, this is a public, hold tight. We may have questions for you,
Okay,
follow up. I don't see anybody else in the audience who wishes to speak on this.
So, well,
No?
he's just my support here.
Okay, good, good. Always good to have support. Do we have anyone online on this matter?
No one online indicating they'd like to
Okay, I'll
speak.
go ahead and close the public hearing and turn it over to the board for discussion and or a motion. This is in District 2. Those homes, my only comment is it looks like every home in that subdivision, and I know you granted them the 30-foot front setback because they existed at the turn of the century. That makes it sound older than what it was only, but the county has a regulation that in January 1st, 2000, if it was anyway. Sorry, I didn't mean to make it sound like it's old. Darren's laughing
Well,
at me.
there's a lot of older houses in that area.
Yeah, but I'm just saying they're all lined up almost exactly that way, and you can see the porches on the ones that you're talking about. Anyway, with that in mind, go ahead, Member Clapp.
It was mentioned, is the property to the north? Is that where you're saying that they have a
Yes.
10-foot porch?
Yeah.
I'd like to ask the staff if they know anything about that property. Did they receive a variance for extending the 10-foot, or was that built long before?
They just built that just within the last few months.
Oh, okay. Do you know anything about the property to the north of there?
No, I am sorry. I did not look into the property if they had a variance or not.
Got a question. If someone wants to add not a porch, but an awning onto the front of their house, does that require a variance? A retractable awning? Does that require a variance?
Miss Chairman Loper, Member Clapp, it would require a permit to be structurally attached, and it's my opinion it would require a variance. Obviously, if we go out there and they don't meet setbacks, they could always retract it and meet setbacks. But any structural element attached to the building requires a permit and would have to meet setbacks. It would be allowed certain encroachments for eave overhangs and window sills and things. There's certain encroachments that are allowed. An eave overhang can encroach up to 2 feet from a primary building into any required setback. And that's measured from the support structure or the wall. And I believe a covered patio would be under the same allowance. And I'm sorry, but I'm going from memory here. It may be 3 feet, but it's certainly not more than that.
Thank you. I was just looking at options. Based on that, my inclination, I'd be happy to hear what the rest of the board believes. My inclination would be to approve the additional 10-foot for the front patio.
I support that. Is that in the form of a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve BA 25008.
We have a motion for approval by Member Clapp for BA 25, and we have a second by Member Cardin.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to
Yes.
interrupt, but did you go through public comment and close public hearing?
I did.
Okay, sorry.
I could do it again if it helps, but
Okay. I'll pay better attention.
Rosalie, if you could, please.
Member Cardin,
Yes.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 3-0.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.
You as well. Item number 8, the last item on our agenda, BA 250009, the Went project in District 4. Andrew?
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. BA 20250009 is a request for varying the required front yard setback for an approximate 1 acre residential parcel located in the rural 43 zoning district in the Waddell area. The request is to amend the required front setback from 40 feet to 12 feet to allow for the development of a new RV garage and RV storage uses. There is a 20-foot existing easement along the southern lot line that was recorded in 2019. A 6-foot block wall has been erected between the easement and the parcel. When officially recorded, the easement shifted the front from the west to the south. The new construction has been designed to be 32 feet from the property line. Ultimately, the applicant has failed to demonstrate there is any peculiar condition relating to the property. Should the board find the applicant has proven entitlement to the variance, then the board must state on the record for the basis of that determination, with the findings and conclusion in a motion to grant the relief sought. At this time, I would be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Andrew. A couple of questions. If you could go back to the aerial. That one right there, yeah. So by virtue of that easement, they flipped the frontage. Would they need the variance if that frontage had continued to be the west? Do you know?
Yes, they're requesting a 12-foot separation. They would be allowed 20 feet if it was still continued, if that was the side yard setback.
So they would still need a variance.
Correct.
Okay. And this is for, I apologize, I think you said, if I don't know if there's a way to call it out, but is it an existing building? If so, which one of these is it?
It is not as existing. It is a proposed RV garage and other garage structure.
So it'd go in that open space area on the north side of the residence?
In the south side, approximately where the trailers are.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, thank you very much. Well, I guess one more question. Do we know, and I'm going to guess it's that open area, where the septic leach field is?
And I'm sorry, I was clarifying with Andrew, if the easement didn't exist on the south for accessing other properties, the structure would meet the 30-foot side setback.
Oh, it would be, okay. So the easement caused the issue in some ways, or how the county ordinance defines front once you put the easement in place.
Correct.
Okay.
I will say it is less of an encumbered building envelope with the easement than without the easement. It's just where they want to put the RV garage.
Okay.
Because it's what I refer to as squat lots. If the easement wasn't there, because the long side is the front. Therefore, you have 40-foot front and rear on the east and west, as opposed to 30-foot sides today. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Are there any other questions of staff at this time? All right. Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing. Is the applicant or applicant representative in attendance? Think not. Do we have anybody online?
Chairman, there is a Wesley Van Cleve. I've tried reaching out to him, but no. Okay. No, there's nobody online.
Nobody online. Per our bylaws, we automatically kick it, or we don't. Definitely wouldn't take a negative action.
We always, I believe per the bylaws, you would make a motion to continue for 1 month.
District 4, I'll go ahead and do that then. I would move that we continue this to April 17th hearing as the applicant is not in attendance.
Okay.
We have a second by member Clapp. Rosalie, when you get a chance.
Member Cardin,
Yes.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for a continuance by a vote of 3-0.
Awesome. And we are adjourned. And the public hearing's closed.